I returned home early from work and found my wife hooking up with my father and stepmother. I recorded everything, served her divorce papers, and made their lives miserable. 15 years later, after my ex-wife passed away, my father and stepmother came to my door pleading for assistance. I responded by spitting in their faces and slamming the door shut without uttering a word. I had kept this to myself for 15 years and never shared the full story. Now, at 32, I was working as a forensic accountant at a major firm, earning good money and enjoying decent hours. I thought I had my life in order, married for 4 years to Brooke, who was in pharmaceutical sales. We were trying for kids and discussing buying a larger house, the whole American dream. One Tuesday in March, I left the office at 2 p.m. Something felt off, like when you know someone has invaded your space even though nothing seems different. My instincts were screaming at me, but instead of being at work, I found myself pulling into my driveway at 2:47 p.m. Brooke's BMW was parked there, along with my father's truck and my stepmother Marine's white Range Rover decorated with those ridiculous Namaste stickers. I naively thought they might be planning a surprise for my birthday next month. The front door was unlocked, and I could hear noises coming from the living room, moaning, grunting, and skin slapping against skin. As I walked in, I found my wife on all fours on our expensive leather sectional, while my father was behind her, and my stepmother sat naked in my recliner, playing with herself and giving directions like a twisted director. The smell hit me. Sweat and Marine's signature lavender oil made me nauseous. They didn't notice me at first. I stood there for about 10 seconds, watching my father, the man who taught me to ride a bike and walk me down the aisle, hooking up with my wife while his own wife cheered him on. Brooke was the first to spot me. You would expect shame or panic, but instead she smirked and said, "Oh, you're home early." That's when I pulled out my phone and started recording, capturing everything. Gerald pulling out still hard, while Marine tried to cover herself with a throw pillow. Brooke just sat there as if this was an ordinary Tuesday. When I asked Gerald what was happening, he responded with anger. "Not son, I'm sorry. This isn't what it looks like." I stayed silent, kept recording, and headed upstairs to my office to print the divorce papers I had downloaded months ago after our last big fight. Thinking about how distant Brooke had been, working late and acting strangely, I returned downstairs. They had found some clothes, and I handed Brooke the papers, telling her to sign. I warned her that if she fought me, the video would go to her boss, her friends, her mother, and the pharmaceutical conference she was keynoting next month. She laughed, saying I wouldn't dare. I pulled up her boss's contact on my phone, showing her the video attached to a draft email titled, "Your sales rep's extracurricular activities." She signed. I then looked at Gerald, my father, the man I tried so hard to impress, and ordered them all to leave. Marine started with her wellness nonsense about negative energy and family, but I interrupted her, saying, "Get the F out." They left, and Brooke attempted to take some jewelry, claiming it was hers, but I showed her the receipts on my phone. She left with just the clothes on her back and the BMW I had co-signed for. I would deal with that later. I sat in my empty house on that tainted couch, plotting my revenge. They wanted to ruin my life? Fine, I would return the favor, but I would do it right, methodically and thoroughly. I would follow the money and watch everything burn. Update 1, 3 months later. You all wanted to know what happened next, so buckle up. First, I hired the best divorce attorney in the state and showed him the video. He winced, saying in his 30 years, he had never seen something so thoroughly documented. The divorce went through quickly. Brooke got her clothes, her car, and $50,000, not even half of what she deserved, but she didn't want that video getting out. But I wasn't finished. As a forensic accountant, I knew how to unearth dirt, and these 3 had left trails everywhere. First, Gerald. My father owned 6 auto shops in the state and did well, but he had no idea I had helped set up his books years ago and still had access to his systems. He never changed the passwords. It took me 2 weeks to find it. He had been skimming cash transactions for years, around $300,000 total. The IRS has a whistleblower program that pays you up to 30% of what they recover. I submitted everything: receipts, altered invoices, cash transactions, 20 years of meticulous fraud neatly packaged. The IRS raided his shops 3 months later, seizing everything: the business, the house, the lake property. He ended up owing $1.2 million in back taxes and penalties, while I got a check for $360,000. Next was Marine. She had built a brand around being a wellness coach with 50,000 Instagram followers, spreading her nonsense about conscious coupling. I created an anonymous account and posted select screenshots to a gossip forum focused on exposing fake influencers. Not the entire video, just enough to show her face and wedding ring. Her followers found it within hours, and the comments were brutal. Brands dropped her, and her wellness retreat was canceled after couples demanded refunds. She had claimed her wellness center was a religious organization for tax exemption, but was selling products and requiring donations for services. That's fraud. Another report to the IRS led to another raid. She owed around $200,000 in back taxes, and her Instagram followers plummeted from 50K to 3K in a month. Lastly, Brooke. Pharmaceutical sales reps must follow strict ethics guidelines, and Brooke had violated all three: accepting kickbacks, failing to report gifts, and falsifying expense reports. I still had access to our shared cloud storage and found 3 years of expense reports. She had filed false reports for dinners that were actually girls' nights and personal vacations disguised as convention trips. The real kicker? She was involved with a married doctor who was writing suspicious prescriptions for her company's top-tier painkillers. One anonymous tip to her company's ethics hotline, one package of evidence to the DEA about suspicious prescribing patterns, and one email to the doctor's wife with some very interesting photos from Brooke's phone backup led to her being fired within a week. She lost her license, the doctor lost his hospital privileges, and he is now under federal investigation. His wife took everything in the divorce. Brooke tried calling and texting me, asking how I could do this to her. I blocked her number. The aftermath. It took 2 years, but I legally destroyed all 3 of them using their own crimes against them. Gerald went from a successful business owner to working at a chain oil change place. Maureen lost everything and moved in with her sister. Brooke spiraled hard. Last I heard, she was cocktail waitressing and had developed a serious pill problem. I left town and started my own forensic consulting firm, specializing in fraud investigations for divorce cases. I bought a downtown condo and started dating again cautiously. I met someone named Sienna, a federal prosecutor who understands my story and admires my attention to detail. Some may say I went too far and should have just walked away. But they didn't just cheat. They did it in my house, on my furniture, laughing about it. They destroyed my concept of family, trust, and basic decency. So, I meticulously and legally destroyed their lives, and I slept soundly every night. Update 2, 6 months later. A lot of messages asking how I'm doing, so here's where things stand. My business is thriving. I have a reputation for taking down cheaters through financial forensics. I now have 3 employees and a waiting list. Sienna and I are solid. She gets it and doesn't try to analyze or fix me. We keep our finances separate, and it's a running joke that she knows what I can do with financial records. Gerald ran into a former employee at a bar and has been telling everyone I set him up out of jealousy. The IRS agent who handled his case laughed at his defense. He's living in a studio apartment now, still working at Jiffy Lube, and tried to reconcile with my mother, but she told him to get lost. Maureen tried to rebuild her brand as a redemption coach, but failed miserably, and now she's working at a new age bookstore making minimum wage. As for Brooke, her pill problem worsened. One of her former colleagues reached out to me, saying she had been arrested for forging prescriptions and lost her cocktail job for stealing from the register. She was living in her car for a while, and her mother called me, begging for help. I told her the truth. Your daughter chose this path. Some of you might think I should feel guilty, but I don't. Every consequence they faced was a result of their own actions. Life now. Sienna asked me last week if I ever worry about running into them. Truth is, I don't think about them much anymore. They're just case studies I use to show clients how thorough my work is. I took down my own father for tax fraud. I tell them, imagine what I can do to your cheating spouse. But there's something I haven't shared with anyone, not even Sienna. I kept the house, had it professionally cleaned twice, and bought new furniture, but I kept the place. Sometimes I sit in that living room where I found them, and I feel nothing, no anger, no pain, just emptiness. They gave me nothing, no father, no wife, no family. So that's what I returned to them, nothing. Final update, 15 years later. I hadn't planned on updating again, but something happened yesterday. Life has been good, really good. The firm has offices in 3 cities now. Sienna and I got married 5 years ago in a small ceremony with close friends. We decided not to have kids. Neither of us trusts the world enough to bring an innocent child into it. I'm 47 now, successful and healthy. I box 3 times a week to channel my anger. I hadn't thought about them in years until the doorbell rang at 8 p.m. last night. I have cameras everywhere and check the feed. I almost dropped my phone when I saw Gerald and Maureen, 15 years older and looking terrible. Gerald, maybe 69, looked 80, thin and gray, walking with a cane. Maureen was beside him, no trace of the wellness goddess left, just a weary woman in a cheap coat. I could have ignored them, I should have. But some part of me wanted to see them, to look them in the eyes one last time. I opened the door and Gerald started. Son. They stood there on my porch, the porch of my $2.8 million house, looking pathetic. We need help, Maureen said, devoid of any wellness talk, just desperation. Why would I help you? I asked. Gerald's hands were shaking. Brooke's dead, he said. I felt nothing. An overdose 3 months ago, his mother added. You should know. Okay, now I know. Leave, please. Maureen stepped forward. We have nowhere else to go. We're living in our car. Gerald's sick, diabetes. We can't afford insulin. We just need... I was startled by my own volume. Sienna appeared behind me, hand on my shoulder. Let me explain what you need to understand, I said. You left my wife in my house. You destroyed my life, and now, 15 years later, you show up because yours fell apart. Gerald tried again. I'm your father. You're nothing. You were nothing the moment I caught you in bed with my wife. Want insulin? Get a job. Oh wait, who's going to hire a 69-year-old tax fraud with no skills? Maureen blurted out. We have a daughter. Everything froze. What? From that time with Brooke? She's 14 and lives with my sister. We can't support her anymore. The math added up. My ex-wife had a child with my father, my half-sister and stepdaughter. Show me proof. Maureen pulled out a cracked phone, displaying a picture of a teenage girl. Gerald's eyes lit up. Brooke's daughter, her name's Harper. She doesn't know about any of this. She thinks Gerald's just her grandfather. We've been sending money when we could. I stared at that photo. This innocent girl was born from the worst betrayal imaginable, but she hadn't chosen any of it. What's her situation? I asked. My sister can't afford another mouth. She's talking about putting Harper in foster care. Sienna squeezed my shoulder. She knew what I was thinking. Give me your sister's contact info, I said. Hope flickered in Maureen's eyes. Does this mean? Yes, I'll make sure the kid's taken care of, not you. Never you. I looked at Gerald, my dying, broken, desperate father, and spat in his face. He didn't even wipe it off, just stood there, spit running down his cheek. That's for what you took from me, I said. Now get the F off my property. If I see either of you again, I'll call the cops. But Harper, I'll handle Harper. She's innocent in this. You too. You can die in that car for all I care. I slammed the door. Sienna looked at me. You're going to help the girl? I'll set up a trust, full ride to college, living expenses, but it'll be anonymous. She'll never know it came from me. That's hefty, probably $200,000 all in. I made $360,000 from reporting Gerald's tax fraud. Consider it poetic justice, his crimes paying for his daughter's future. I went to my office and started making calls to lawyers and financial advisors. By midnight, it was done. Harper would be taken care of. Maureen's sister would receive a grant from a charitable organization for Harper's care. The girl would have a chance. That's more than her parents gave me. This morning, I drove past the spot where Gerald said they'd been parking, an old, beat-up Honda with fogged-up windows. They were both inside, huddled under blankets. I didn't stop or honk. I just drove to work. Brooke's dead. Gerald's dying. Maureen's broken. And me? I'm still here, still standing, still successful. They took everything from me 15 years ago, but I rebuilt it all back, better, stronger. And now, in their final desperate moment, I showed them exactly what they created. A man with the resources to help but the memory to refuse. That's justice, cold, calculated justice. Harper will be fine. She'll go to college and make something of herself. She'll never know her origin story. As for Gerald and Maureen, they'll die knowing I could have saved them. But I chose not to, just like they chose to destroy my life. Funny how choices work, isn't it? Final update, 1 week later. This will be the last time I post about this. I need to get it out, then I'm done. Gerald died yesterday. Maureen's sister called me. I don't know how she got my number. Probably from the lawyer handling Harper's trust. She thought I should know that he'd been admitted to the ER 3 days ago, diabetic coma. Maureen was with him. They'd been living in that car in 20 degrees weather. No heat, no food. Just two old people freezing to death in a Honda Civic. The sister said Maureen begged the doctors to save him, promising she'd find a way to pay. But he was too far gone, years of untreated diabetes, malnutrition, exposure. His body just gave up. He died holding Maureen's hand. It's almost poetic, considering she helped him destroy my marriage. Here's the thing. The hospital called me. I'm still listed as his emergency contact. They wanted to know about funeral arrangements. I laughed, actually laughed at the poor social worker. Cremate him, whatever's cheapest. I'm not paying for it. Sir, he's your father. He was a sperm donor who just happened to stick around, nothing more. I hung up. Sienna asked if I wanted to go to the funeral. I looked at her like she'd grown a second head. Would you go to the funeral of someone who systematically destroyed your life? She said no, but suggested I might regret it later, that I might need closure. I got my closure 15 years ago when I handed over his fraud files to the IRS, when I watched his business empire crumble, when I built my success on the ashes of his failure. But here's what's bothering me. Maureen called, got my number from the hospital, sobbing and begging. She said she had nothing left, no money for even the cheapest cremation. She'd have to let the state take him and dump him in some unmarked grave. Please, she said, whatever you think of us, he was your father. Don't let him end up in a pauper's grave. I told her, he ended up in a pauper's grave the moment he chose to F my wife. This is just making it official. She was quiet for a long moment. Harper doesn't know her father's dead, or that her grandfather is too. How do I tell her? Not my problem, but her college is paid for. Make sure she knows that. Are you really going to let hatred control you forever? Hatred? No, Maureen. This isn't hatred. Hatred requires emotion. This is indifference. You and Gerald became nothing to me 15 years ago. His death doesn't change that. He loved you, she whispered. Even after everything, he kept your photo in the car from when you were young. Then he should have thought about that before he left my wife in my living room while you cheered him on. I hung up. Last night, I couldn't sleep, thinking about that photo in the car. Which one did he keep? The one from my college graduation? My wedding? Back when I still looked at him like a father instead of a case file. This morning, I drove to the hospital, not sure why, maybe to see if I'd feel something. The morgue attendant led me to him. Gerald looked small, frail. Nothing like the man who taught me to throw a baseball or fix a carburetor. Just meat on a table. I stood there for 5 minutes, waiting for anger, sadness, regret. Nothing came. You did this to yourself, I told the corpse. Every choice, every consequence, this is what you earned. I signed the papers refusing responsibility for the body and let the state handle him. Let him rot in an unmarked grave. Let him be forgotten. On my way out, I saw Maureen in the lobby, wrapped in the same cheap coat, looking like she'd aged a decade in a week. She saw me and stood up. Don't, I said. I just wanted to say. I know what you want to say, that you're sorry, that you made mistakes, that you need help, that Gerald's dead and you're scared and alone. I know all of it and I don't care. We were family once. No, we were people who shared DNA and addresses. Family doesn't F each other's wives. Family doesn't betray. Family doesn't destroy. She started crying, ugly, desperate sobs. People were staring. Please, I have nothing. I'm 63 years old, and I have nothing. You have exactly what you deserve. I walked past her, reached the door, and stopped without turning around. Harper's trust fund kicks in when she's 18. Full ride to any school, living expenses, everything. She'll never want for anything. That's the only good thing to come from your poison. Make sure she uses it. Thank you, Maureen sobbed. Don't thank me. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it so an innocent kid doesn't pay for your crimes. Now lose my number. If you contact me again, I'll get a restraining order. I left and drove home. Sienna was making breakfast. How was it? She asked. I confirmed what I already knew. I felt nothing. That's not true, she said. You set up that trust for Harper. That's something. That's strategy. Gerald's illegitimate daughter succeeds while he dies in poverty. Even in death, I win. She looked at me for a long moment. You know that's not why you did it. Maybe she's right. Maybe somewhere beneath 15 years of carefully cultivated indifference, there's still a part of me that believes in protecting the innocent, ensuring kids don't pay for their parents' sins. But that doesn't mean forgiveness. It doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean feeling sorry for the man who destroyed my concept of family. Gerald's dead. Brooke's dead. Maureen's a broken shell heading for the same fate. And me? I'm having dinner with my wife tonight at a restaurant that costs more than Gerald made in his last month alive. Tomorrow, I'll go to work at my firm, helping clients document their cheating spouse's crimes. This weekend, Sienna and I are flying to Cabo. Life goes on. My life goes on. Their lives stopped the day they betrayed me. It just took 15 years for their bodies to catch up. Some will call me heartless, say I should have helped, should have forgiven, should have been the bigger person. Forget that. Being the bigger person gets you a cheating wife and a father who thinks your marriage bed is his playground. I chose to be the successful person instead, the ruthless person, the person who documents everything, forgets nothing, and forgives even less. Gerald wanted a legacy. Here it is, a cautionary tale about what happens when you betray someone who knows how to destroy lives legally and has the patience to do it thoroughly. His actual legacy? Harper will thrive, go to college, build a career, and have a life. She'll do it on the money I secured by destroying her grandfather. She'll succeed because I chose to separate her from her family's poison. That's my final victory. Even Gerald's bloodline will owe its success to me. He's dead. I'm alive. I won. End of story. Edit. My inbox is blowing up. Let me clarify a few things. No, I don't feel bad. Stop projecting your daddy issues onto me. Yes, Harper's trust is ironclad, set up through 3 layers of LLCs, untouchable. Maureen tried calling again. I blocked her. I filed a restraining order this morning. For those saying I'm broken or need therapy, I've got a $50 million business and a wife who understands me. I'm doing fine. This isn't a morality tale. It's what happens when you mess around and find out. Comments are locked. I'm done discussing this. They're dead or dying. I'm thriving, and that's all that matters. Don't betray people who know how to destroy you. It's that simple. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed our videos, please like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.